Welcome to Around the SEC. I am Stephen Willis along with Corey Burton and Jeb Beecham. We're here to be a nice little primer into this weekend of SEC football. But first, we're going to take it a little bit backwards a little bit and talk about, well, Will Muschamp being out, and Ole Miss might be the most fun team in college football thanks to a clipboard, which was actually a play sheet. But whatever it takes. How you doing, Corey?
I'm doing great, man. It was I'm finally glad to get a lot of SEC football back this weekend. Lots of stuff to talk about today's show. We talked about Israel, and I talked about I believe in Georgia Dogs. We talked Will Muschamp, so can't wait to share those thoughts with you. You catch me on Illegal Motion, and a brand new show that's launching here in the near future called Coaching Chatter on the Believe Network. So you can find me just about everywhere.
And Jeb, what you been up to?
Not much. Like Corey, I was a little disappointed this last weekend with so little football, but we are getting it looks like nearly a full slate anyway this coming week, so I'm excited. Other than that, just working and doing my best to stay out of everybody's way.
I understand that. Well, of course, before we get started, we need to take care of a little business. You can follow us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis or at Ole Positively. You can hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/Pomcast or facebook.com/AroundTheSEC. Join us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell for notifications. That'll help you out when we move to video to let it be known when we are streaming. And
you can see this nice looking mug.
Yes, right. That'll be the way we do this in the future. You get to see all this beauty. And of course, you can hit us up on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. If audio is your bag, and judging by the numbers, you can hook us up, or you can hook it up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora, and a numerous number of minor podcatchers. But that's how you can listen to the show, which you probably already know because you're listening to it right now.
Hey, Steve, if the audience wants to get a glimpse of what our video cast is going to potentially look like, they can get a preview without all the fancy graphics. If you go watch Offense the Boot Camp, or Boot Camp the Offense, said that wrong. But you can see how it's going to potentially look, and then envision some fancy little graphics with our names and the Pomcast logo around the SEC, all that good stuff. You can jazz it up with your imagination, but you can kind of see what it's going to look like.
Yeah, what's going to happen it's going to more closely resemble the Pat McAfee show. If you're looking for the video elements of the podcast, although we're investing $30,000 worth of equipment, so it's going to be a high-end production. And we're also going to do productions for your podcast. If you want to take it to the next level, we're going to do that. So you can start planning on that 6 months out.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get started. Will Muschamp is out at South Carolina. Will Muschamp's defense has been good. His special team's been good, but he just is snake bit when it's come to figuring out the offense, and that eventually – basically got him fired, got him $15 million.
Yeah, I mean, it was too little too late. He hired Mike Bobo this season, and things were starting to kind of look up, but the cupboard was just way too bare at South Carolina, and they couldn't quite generate enough offense for him to save his job. Things were going downhill. And once things start unraveling, especially in this league, this is a very unforgiving league. Once things start unraveling on you, that's all she wrote. But he'll bounce back, and I said this on my show, and I said this on the Illegal Motion College Football podcast as well, that some people just aren't meant to be head coaches, and that's okay. Will Muschamp is probably one of those guys. He'll get $1.5 million DC offers. If I'm Lane Kiffin, Steve, I'm picking up the phone because he's dropping hints. I don't know if you know in these press conferences, he's dropping hints that he ain't pleased with the defense, and old Dirk Master is going to be he's going to be looking for a new gig, And if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm saying, hey, Will, come on over, be my defensive coordinator. You ain't got to worry about the head coaching stuff. I got it. All right, you just coordinate this defense, and just like that, Ole Miss might be the scariest team in the SEC. So, if I may play Lane Kiffin for a minute, that's what I'm doing.
Did you know that Will Muschamp's wife is an Ole Miss grad?
Did not know that. That might come in handy.
Yeah, little inroads.
There you go. That might come in handy. Also, some potential stuff. I imagine he's going to land on as an analyst with Kirby Smart or Nick Saban to finish out this season, and then he'll be on the road again. Dan Lanning could be out as Georgia's defensive coordinator. He might be getting a head coaching job somewhere. He was almost a candidate at Memphis a year ago. You got to think that he's, somebody's short list. If I'm Middle Tennessee, I'm getting a high energy guy like Dan Lanning to lead my program. So just a few notes on that. So, but Will Muschamp, you saw when he got fired, all his former players came out and said, voiced their support for him and was, very pointed with their words and said, hey, I hate that it didn't work out, but, Will Muschamp was the greatest thing to ever happen to me. He's a player's coach, had great relationships with everyone that he coached and impacted their lives on and off the field. But it just didn't work out, and you hate to see it.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed to me like Muschamp started off pretty well there at South Carolina. I don't know if that was just having holdovers from the Spur era or what happened, but it definitely in the last couple of years seems to have gone a little downhill for him. But defenses were always strong, always a great defensive coordinator, so I'm sure he'll go back to doing that for a while. And eventually, I agree that I'm not sure that he needs to be a head coach again, but I think eventually he'll get another shot at it once he rehabilitates his image a bit, a defensive coordinator somewhere. And I also agree Ole Miss would be just crazy not to at least try and get him. I don't know if he wants to work immediately, if he wants to take a little time off. We'll see.
Well,
He's
and
an intense person. He'll want to get back.
Yeah, he's addicted to football. He'll be unemployed for about 10 minutes. Basically, also now we can move on to the next step, the early leaders in the clubhouse to get the South Carolina job. I've heard Billy Napier mentioned. I've heard Hugh Freeze mentioned.
Hugh Freeze ain't going to South Carolina.
I don't think so either. And I heard what's the guy at Coastal Carolina?
That guy. No, I can't. I drew a blank on his name.
Yeah.
You guys keep talking. I will look it up.
Yes. So those are the kind of the three leaders in the clubhouse. Sark at Alabama is also going to be a candidate. But my opinion, at South Carolina, this is Billy Napier's job to lose, in my opinion. He's probably the odds-on favorite to get it. It's a job that basically last season he just kind of held out for because he knew the South Carolina job, pre-COVID was going to come open. Then it looked like everything blew up because of COVID, and now, he's going to be able to get his wish.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, he would be a home run for South Carolina. I think he's done a great job at Louisiana. I keep wanting to call him Lafayette because they are the Raging Cajuns. And so, I think he'll do a tremendous job at South Carolina if they get him. I would think that they would. I mean, obviously their first call is going to be to Hugh Freeze, and then when he turns him down, then
Well, I don't think the SEC will let South Carolina hire Hugh Freeze because Ole Miss is still on probation because of the actions of his staff. I just don't think this year they're going to let him come back.
Do you think so? They won't let him come back to any conference?
To the SEC.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. Any conference member. I meant to say member, but yeah, I had him pegged for the Auburn job.
And that might happen because it looks like Gus and his friend are going to save their gigs this year, and next year could be a different story.
Yeah, and it's Jamie Chadwell.
There we go.
At Coastal Carolina. Chadwell, Coach Chadwell. Jamie with an EY.
Yeah, they asked him as soon as the job came open. They sent a text message to him about it. He said, "Hey, I'm stuck here on the side of the road. My wife has a flat tire or a busted tail light, and I'm trying to get that handled so she's not pissed off at me." And that's all he responded to the South Carolina job with. That was pretty good.
That is pretty good, and I love it. So yeah, I think also a dark horse might be Willie Fritz. He might be somebody at Tulane having a decent year. Some American Conference coaches. Guy at Tulsa. Can't think of his name for right now, but they're having a phenomenal season. They just upset SMU. Maybe Josh Heupel spent some time at Mizzou. Might be looking to get back in the conference.
Rhett
Lashlee could be on the move, ready to pounce on a job. Maybe that job might be a little too big for him, but you got to think somebody. They might go completely outside the box. But I'm calling Luke Fickell also.
Luke Fickell,
South Carolina,
and Tony Elliott.
Yeah, and I don't think either one of them will jump. Maybe Tony Elliott might jump, but I don't think Fickell's going to go. I think Fickell's holding out for Michigan,
which he looks like he might be in line to get.
Oh yeah, that job is going to open up.
Yeah. So let's change the subject. Right now, my theory is Ole Miss is the most fun team in college football this season. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. They when it comes to offensive football, they know what they're doing.
I think Ole Miss definitely has the most range on offense. You just don't know how they're going to come at you, and that does make it a lot of fun to watch. I don't know. Alabama's been off for a while, but their offense is high powered and clicking on all cylinders. And Florida, of course, looks great right now, but on offense, which I hate saying, but I think you're right that Ole Miss is the most fun just because you don't know who's going to score at any moment.
Yeah, there was about a 6-yard sprint last weekend, just in case you were living under a rock and didn't notice, where Lane Kiffin throws a play sheet about 60 yards in the air, it looks like, and then sprints for about 30 yards and gives a fist bump at the other end. That's ludicrous.
That was that was a pretty athletic move there. Not only to get the play sheet that high up in the air, but he showed stellar athleticism by almost beating the ball carrier down the field to the end zone in his sprint. That was pretty fun.
Over under on the length that Lane Kiffin sprinted at about 12 yards. What do you think?
Yeah, 12 yards, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm cool. I'm good."
All right.
So, Steve, I got to ask you, how spot on were we with the boot camp?
We actually nailed the hell out of this offense ahead of time, and if you watch that, you were not surprised at all at anything that is happening this season because it's happening just like we said. The only difference is the timing isn't quite there. It was a lack of spring, lack of fall camp. The timing still isn't there. There's still improvement that can be made to this offense when it comes to jets and motions.
Yes. Yes, all of the above. No, I enjoy watching Ole Miss. I never thought I'd say that, but I do enjoy watching Ole Miss, and I'm glad they hired Lane Kiffin. I think that's a hire that's going to work out if he figures out the defensive piece. All right. Now, for the sake of the rest of the conference, speaking from representation of another conference member, don't hire Will Muschamp. Don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, he should hire Will Muschamp. Don't do it. Don't hire him. No. So yeah.
Well, just real quick before we go to break, Jeb, is Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee going to be safe this year?
He's going to make it through this year, I think. I think that Fulmer has enough confidence in him, and as upset as the fans are, we'll give him one more year. I honestly, up until here recently, I've liked Jeremy Pruitt. I've liked where everything's going. I wouldn't even be mad at him. It's that dedication to Jarrett Garantano that I just can't figure out. But
that's
for now,
be the end of him.
And it might be, especially if for some terrible reason he decides to come back for another year. I really hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's the
But
dedication to old man football that's got Tennessee in trouble right now.
I agree. But I think Pruitt makes it at least one more year.
If Pruitt wants to keep his job, he needs to make a change at quarterback.
I don't think he's going to this week.
If he wants to keep his job, that's what he needs to do. Just take your lumps. People will be more understanding if you take your lumps with the younger guy and you open up the offense a little bit. Two things need to happen, and I think this is what's going to happen. Either he needs to make a change at the quarterback spot. Okay, it's not going to work. It's going to be ugly. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know that it's going to be ugly. I promise. And then after you make the change at quarterback in the offseason, get a new offensive coordinator. Get somebody that can take advantage of Harrison Bailey's skill set. Then you can say, okay, well, he's finally got the offensive coordinator in place. Now, okay, is this really on Pruitt or not? And then you'll get a good idea of what's going on. But if he sticks with Garantano, he's cooking his own goose. I'm telling you right now.
Honestly, I agree, but we'll see because I feel fairly confident he's going to stick with Garantano. I hope he proves me wrong, but we'll see.
I mean, he probably will, and they'll probably be looking for a new coach, and they're going to go after Hugh Freeze. They're not going to get him, but they're going to go after him.
That would be interesting, though, if Ole Miss ended up with Lane Kiffin, who took off of Tennessee in the middle of the night, and we ended up with Hugh Freeze, who left Ole Miss in such a ill manner.
He kind of
Hookers.
on a university cell phone.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah.
No.
All right, guys, let's take our first
Round of
break of the evening or day, depending on when you're listening to this. This is around the SEC. I'm Stephen Willis with Corey Burton and Jeb Beecham. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back to Around the SEC. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, along with Corey Burton and Jeb Beecham.
What up?
Here to get you a nice little primer into the SEC games this weekend. First one on the agenda. Now, Corey, I just want to say, last year, LSU was a 42-point favorite in this game against Arkansas. When this line opened, Arkansas was a 3-point favorite. That's a 45-point swing, although LSU is favored currently by 2 points, but they're both having COVID problems. If you bet on this game, you're kind of crazy and you have a problem. I'm personally wanting to see Arkansas continue to progress. I think Kendall Briles as an offensive coordinator is a national championship level offensive coordinator when paired with the right defense. And he is extremely talented, and I think that is going to be put on display against Bo Pelini and the air defense.
You see, this is what Ole Miss should have had because Arkansas and Ole Miss share the same issues defensively. as far as talent goes, Arkansas doesn't have hardly any talent on defense. However, they have a great coordinator in Barry Odom, who was a head coach that may or may not have gotten a raw deal at Missouri, but then again, maybe he's not cut out to be a head coach. He's kind of like Will Muschamp. Then you have Ole Miss, who also has a similar talent problem on defense, where they just don't have that many people. They're relying on a lot of young guys. They're relying on a lot of inexperience. And when you mix that with a bad coordinator situation, things get really ugly on the defense side of the ball. So Arkansas is kind of what Arkansas and Ole Miss are very, very similar because they both have that Bryles system, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, they're in-laws? Aren't they in-laws? Jeff Levy, Kendall Bryles?
Yeah, they're in-laws.
Yeah. So you have the same offense, except Ole Miss has much more explosive playmakers than Arkansas, or much better playmakers than Arkansas on the offensive side of the ball. But then you have, then you could have had similar situations on I mean, they're almost carbon copies of each other. Arkansas is a more physical team defensively because they have a better coordinator and a better mentality on that side of the ball. I've been thoroughly impressed with what Arkansas has. I was, even though the score didn't reflect it 63-35, I was impressed that Arkansas, they didn't roll over. They didn't fold. They had a bad second quarter, but they didn't fold. They could have. That game could have been 63-7, 72-7. That game could have got real ugly, real out of hand, real quick against Florida, who was on fire, and it didn't. And that to me stood out because last year's Arkansas team would have. I mean, Florida could have put an 80 spot on them and thought nothing of it. And the fact that this game is almost a pick 'em, given where LSU was a year ago and where Arkansas was a year ago, is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the most 2020 thing ever.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, needless to say, I think Arkansas has the advantage of this. You have some COVID problems at LSU mixed in with the already lack of talent because everyone left. I don't know how well that speaks on Coach O, but it is reality. So with a 2-point spread, I feel confident in picking Arkansas because I think they're going to win outright. They're not laying many points, so they got to win outright, really. So I think it's Arkansas's game all the way. I think they're well enough coached. I think Barry Odom can he can sit in the driver's seat for a game and manage a win in this one. And when Sam Pittman gets back, he'll get the ship going back the right direction. But I think Arkansas can pull this one out.
Yeah, and I think the betting spread shows this, and it's the way I feel. This is the most toss-up game of the week. I'm not really positive what's going to happen. It sounds like LSU may have some behind-the-scenes issues going on there. They just are kind of a mess on offense and defense. I know they've had a lot of trouble running the ball, but Arkansas is not very good at stopping the run, so who knows? Although Arkansas is doing a decent job of putting up points, looks like Felipe Franks is actually doing pretty well there. So this is a game that I would never have thought in the last 5-10 years that I would be picking Arkansas. And at the moment, I still think LSU may end up pulling this one out, but it's a complete toss-up to me. I have no idea.
All right. Yeah, LSU is going through some things right now, and that is probably going to affect them in Fayetteville. Up we go to Mississippi State versus Georgia, Battle of the Dogs. The JT Daniels era is going to begin. Thoughts on that, Corey?
About freaking time, man. I didn't think his knee was ever going to heal up. I didn't think he was ever going to get cleared, but I think he's finally practiced enough and finally got enough strength in that knee to be as mobile as he needs to be and as and play the position at the level that he needs to play. So we're going to see what he has on display this coming weekend. Obviously, there's probably going to be some rust. He hadn't started a football game since his senior year. Freshman year of college, which should have been his senior year of high school. but he hadn't started a game. He hadn't played a game really since then. So we're going to see kind of how that all translates. And, I think if he does well, Georgia fans are going to be in an uproar. If he does poorly, they're going to be in an uproar. So it's really kind of a lose-lose situation in that regard. But I don't really care. I just hope somebody plays well. 8-2 is the goal. I want to win every game we play. There's, cool. I think he can do it. I mean, he's obviously got 5-star talent, great arm talent, powerful arm. He's accurate for the most part. I think sometimes he, every once in a while, he sprays the ball, but I think he's pretty accurate for the most part. And I can't wait to see what he does.
And I obviously don't know much at all about what goes on behind the scenes at Georgia, but I am
Nobody
surprised.
does.
I believe that, but I'm surprised it's taken this long to get around to JT Daniels, and I agree. I think it's about time. I can't wait to see what he does, and this is a good time to start because Mississippi State is just an all-around mess, and I don't think it'll be a difficult game. It'll just be interesting to see how long it takes JT Daniels to work out some of the rust or the kinks getting into this new offense. So it should be fun to watch just for that.
Yeah, Corey, do you believe that Kirby is protecting the defense too much by his offensive system and is just scared to move to the next level of college football? There's a chance college football could pass him by.
I mean, if he blinks one more time, it's going to. I think him and Pruitt are in the same boat. They need to just say, you know what, screw it. We're going to give up some points. Just what happens in college football now. You give up a few points and you score a bunch. Alabama's like, yeah, screw it. We gave up a half a century against Ole Miss and we still won the game. So, I mean, that's just what we got to do. So, you got to progress. And they got a nice little Ferrari type quarterback coming in next year, Brock Vandegrift. That if you have him do ground and pound, you're gonna completely waste his talent. He needs to be. You need to open the reins up. Let Todd Monken do what you hired him to do, and so far you've seen glimpses of it. But for the most part, it's been same old offense, and so yeah, you're absolutely right. He's going to pass him by. He's protecting his defense too much, and they say defense wins championships, but defense is not the end all be all. I mean, at the end of the day, I think, Steve, the team that scores the most points usually wins, right?
Indeed.
So, score some points.
Yeah, and there's nothing more demoralizing, as Mississippi State can attest to this year, as having a team with an offense that just can't score points.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal to watch. The air raid the air raid is stuck on the runway right now, and I think there's some parts that Mike Leach needs to get for his offense to really kind of make it go. The first year everywhere he's been has been awful. So that's nothing new for Mike Leach. He's got to, he's one of those that, it takes him a minute to get settled in. But, in this league, you may not have a minute to get settled in, but that's neither here nor there. Hopefully that for his sake and for State fans' sake, if you're an avid listener of this podcast, you're probably disagreeing with me and saying, no, to hell with it. I hope they suffer for till the end of time. But for Mississippi State's sake, I think he just needs to get his guys in, recruit the type of players specifically fit for his system, and he needs to find his next Gardner Minshew, because that's been, I think him and Graham Harrell, I would say, have been the two most successful quarterbacks he's had since he's been coaching.
Yeah, indeed. And we go down to Nashville, Florida, and the Kyle Trask show is heading to Nashville to take on the Commodores, along with Ken Seals, who is going to be hell in 3 years. But right now he is just a true freshman. I kind of like the Doors to cover the line in this one. I think Florida is going to have a little bit of a letdown. Either way, though, this game should not be competitive.
No.
I was actually pretty impressed with Ken Sills in this last game. They had a pretty good game against Kentucky, which I thought, like I said, I think they're getting a little desperate, and I thought that that might help. But really, they just played a good all around game. I think you're right. I think in a couple of years he's going to be a really good quarterback. But
Yeah.
but I like Vanderbilt getting a little more aggressive too with offense. Using the backups and kind of running a little more like Ole Miss, where you just didn't know who was going to score.
Yeah, I think this podcast can officially be called the Ken Seals Fan Club.
Yeah,
agree.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ken Seals. I think he's doing a tremendous job as their quarterback, and too bad for Vandy that he's the only one that's really doing anything over there. So, yeah.
Well, that running back, I can't remember his name. He has the
Henry Brooks.
Henry Brooks. He's kind of come on in the last couple of games, and before he got hurt against Kentucky, he put up 130, 140 yards.
Oh yeah, he's good. He's a talented runner. I think they're starting to do some good things with him. Offensively, I think they're starting to kind of gel, and they might
kind of click a little bit.
They might be clicking a little bit. They might be, figuring themselves out a little bit, starting to build some chemistry. I think Todd Fitch's system is starting to take root a little bit. Unfortunately, he may not have much more time for it to take much more root, but they're starting to do some things offensively, and Ken Seals is really starting to get comfortable, and it's good to see, and maybe that'll be contagious and filter through the rest of the team, and maybe they'll start playing at a higher level.
Yeah. Upset alert when Tennessee comes to town.
Yes.
Is it really an upset?
Oh.
Yes, y'all are funny. Look, I would get back to this game. I would love to see Florida do the thing where you sometimes accidentally overlook an opponent because you just don't think they're going to be that good, and they end up punching you in the mouth. I think Vanderbilt has the ability to do it. I don't think they have the ability to do it and actually win the game, though. Florida's offense is just too good right now, and their defense is all around solid as well. But I really hope that's my biggest hope for Vanderbilt, I think, in this weekend is to come out and really give Florida much more of a game than they realized they were going to get. Although I'm not sure why they'd be overlooking them. I don't remember who they're playing next week, but I don't think it's too much more of a challenge. But you never know.
All right. Round the SEC, segment 2 in the books. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back to Around the SEC. Stephen Willis along with Corey Burton and Jeff Beecham. We're breaking down all the big games in the SEC this weekend. This will be your primer. Put it in the car, go wherever you're going. Here it is. We're going to start this segment off with Tennessee versus Auburn. It's probably the second best game of the week. And you've got Auburn who have they just blew out LSU, but you have Tennessee that's really struggling. But the last time they went on to the Plains, they won the game. I just don't know what to think.
No, I don't either. And you look at Auburn; they're still ranked. They're 4-2, so they look like the better team. But let's be honest, they should be 2-4. No
Mhm.
doubt, and Tennessee is 2-4. So honestly, these teams could be a lot closer than I just feel like. Being a Tennessee fan, I look at it as Auburn is just going to come in the much better team. But I really don't think they're that much better. Auburn is pretty good, like all around, but they're not great at anything that I can think of off the top of my head. Tennessee just, I don't know, our offense, we just can't seem to get that going with Jared Garantano at quarterback. He did play well last time he played Auburn, but that was last year. That has nothing to do with now. So I don't know what's going to happen in this.
Yeah, it seems as though Auburn is starting to kind of find themselves, which, I mean, that's typical of a Gus Malzahn team. They look like crap in the first part of the season. Then they slowly start to kind of find their way. And Bo Nix is starting to play a little bit better. He's, him and Seth Williams have kind of gotten over whatever their differences were, and they're kind of clicking and starting to hit on all cylinders there. They're starting to get Eli Stove and Anthony Schwartz more into the game plan, and then of course Tank Bigsby is turning into a stud at true freshman running back, I think that they can lean heavily on him and the run game and try to keep some of the pressure off of Bo Nix, so that when Bo Nix gets that type of pressure, sometimes he cracks, and they want to prevent that a little bit. So I think Auburn, again, their defense has always been pretty good. They've been put in tough spots all year long, and that's kind of where they've faltered in a lot of their scenarios, a lot of their games. But I think that when their offense is humming along, their defense is dangerous, and that's kind of where they're at.
I think Gus Malzahn's obsession with having a pro-style quarterback, it started with Jarrett Stidham. It's moved on to Bo Nix. Just completely makes the offense less effective. Now, if you were to go out and let's just say they went out and they recruited De'Aaron King with Tank Bigsby at running back and they ran the traditional Auburn offense, man, this thing would be hell.
It would be like Nick Marshall,
Yes.
and when they went to the national championship, that's exactly what it would have been like.
And the system in Auburn works better with that style of quarterback, but they insist on having a pro-style guy just to almost prove that they can have one.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's a weird. I guess you say it's a weird flex. I guess that's the right word. I don't know, but I guess Bo Nix is a legacy kid, and so they just wanted to, I guess they wanted to do it with the legacy kid, but their quarterbacks, like, they had I thought they had a pretty good quarterback for what they do in Joey Gatewood, and they let him get out the door.
Yeah, and he is really struggling, and that'll be a nice segue into our next game, Kentucky versus Alabama. Terry Wilson has stepped back in at Kentucky. Alabama is last week's game got canceled, but they're going to put up a ton of points. This game is going to get ugly, I think.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I think it's Bama's not going to take it easy on them like Georgia did. It's going to get ugly, probably quick.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what Kentucky's game plan is going to be in this one, because you're right. I just don't see any way on defense they're going to be able to match up against Alabama's offense. And Alabama's defense is really good too, and Kentucky does not have a strong offense. Although they're not, they're good at running the ball. They've got a good offensive line, so they maybe can control the clock a little bit and slow Alabama down a tad, but it's not going to be enough to win in this game or even keep it too close, I don't think.
Yeah, this game has the potential to get ugly, and this next game has the potential to get ugly as well. Missouri at South Carolina. All the opt-outs in Columbia, as soon as the news came down, it is just not many players there. And this defense gave up 708 yards to Ole Miss last week anyway.
Yeah, I know before Muschamp left, I would have thought this game would have been fairly close and probably pretty good. But at this point, Missouri is playing much better than they were at the beginning of the season. They're pulling it together a bit, I think. And South Carolina, no, I think that's going to be just bad.
Yeah, you had JC King. He went ahead and opted out. So he went ahead and
JC
quit on
Horn.
Horn. Yeah, what did King? What am I thinking of King? Yeah, JC Horn. He went ahead and opted out. So it's gonna go from bad to worse for South Carolina, I'm afraid. But when you fire your coach midseason, that's kind of what you're signing up for. So not really surprised there. And Missouri, I think 6.5-point favorites. I think that's an easy pick there because they're playing well, and they should. They're still kind of dealing with some COVID issues, so there might be this game might be closer than it should be due to that. But I think Missouri's a good team, and they're starting to kind of buy into what Eli Drinkwitz is selling.
Who can pronounce Missouri's quarterback's name?
Oh, let me give it a shot. Hold on, let me think about it. Let me give it a shot. It is Basilak.
There it is.
Basilic.
Yeah, I just said I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm going to call him B, or the quarterback for Missouri.
I'm going to call him Baz, Connor Baz.
Connor Baz. That sounds like that works as well.
Yeah.
But he's in position because the opt-outs for South Carolina were both of their starting cornerbacks.
Yeah, he's gonna add to those stats. He's over 1,000 yards passing right now on 139 attempts, complete 96 completions for 1,101 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. So.
Yeah, he's a very good young quarterback.
He's a freshman, yes.
Yeah,
he's from Ohio.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him develop as well. Kind of like Ken Seals, but this is the Ken Seals fan club, so I'm going to enjoy that a little bit more.
Yep. And the Ole Miss train is halted this week from contact tracing in College Station. They had one positive case.
Yeah, Texas A&M ducking Ole Miss. That's who would have thought to see the day.
Yep, Jimbo's scared, man.
He's scared to death. And honestly, I'm going to say it right now. Mississippi State will try to get below 53. They do not want the ass whooping that's coming in Oxford this year.
Oh, to your in-state rival. You're right.
Yeah, they will find a way to get below that 53 number.
Yeah, Leach will run a few off.
Mm-hmm.
He'll send a bunch of them out to get arrested and then kick them off the team.
All right. Around the SEC, segment 3 in the books. When we come back, picks.
Right.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, around the SEC, Stephen Willis, along with Corey Burton and Jeb Beecham. It's picks time.
Picks.
Picks it is.
I'm getting back to 500 this week. I'm doing it.
Well, that would be a nice trick if you could do that. Let's see. Week 9, we've got me at 22-16. I'm very good. Thank you very much. Jeb's at 19-20. Corey is at 17 and 22, and Becky is at 19 and 20 as well. So you got some work to do, Corey.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to get them all right this week.
And if you get them all right, you'll at least be over 500. I mean, the Music City Bowl could be in your future.
Hey, it's a great bowl. They do a good job, the bowl committee, so I'm in for it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to get on the General Jackson and have a barbecue cook-off with whoever we're playing against.
All right. Florida is favored by 31.5 points at Vandy. I am taking Vandy, the Kids Seals fan club right here. I am the president, the chapter lead. Let's go.
I agree. I think Florida is looking ahead, scared of that big matchup with Tennessee in a couple weeks, and they don't see Vandy coming. Vandy punches them in the mouth, still loses, but does better than you would think.
Yeah, by 4 touchdowns, still loses.
I think this is going to be the Derek Mason to Stanford as defensive coordinator game. I think Florida's going to roll big. I think they get Kyle Pitts back this weekend, so watch out.
And Becky is taking the Commodores. LSU is favored by 2 points on the road in Fayetteville against Arkansas. I'm going to take the Hogs. I just have a gut feeling.
Yeah, this is a toss-up. I am going the exact opposite. I think LSU will have a much better game this week than they had last week, which is just barely going to pass Arkansas.
LSU's got no chance. As Bruce Arians says, no risk it, no biscuit. This is going to be a weird game, but I think Arkansas is going to win because it's a weird game.
And Becky is going to take the Hogs in this game as well because of numerous reasons that only she knows. But she's copying me too, so that's good. All right, Kentucky getting 30 points on the road at Alabama. Lay the points, take the Tide.
Unfortunately, I agree. Every time I bet against Alabama to cover a spread, they prove me wrong by a lot. So I'm going to stick with Alabama until they prove me wrong.
Yeah, until Bama doesn't cover a huge spread, they're going to cover a huge spread. So, roll Tide, Paul.
And Becky took Kentucky in this game. Tennessee getting 10.5 points on the Plains at Auburn. I am actually taking the Vols in this game because I think after the Auburn-LSU game, there's kind of room for a slip-up.
I hope you're right. I just feel like Auburn, like I said, they're not great and too much, but they're playing pretty well. And Tennessee just has not, in the last 4 games, have just completely lost their offense. So I think Auburn's going to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I think Auburn still has a chance to get in the clubhouse at 8-2. So they're going to do that this weekend against Tennessee. I think they're going to win, and they're going to win by 2 touchdowns. So give me the War Eagle.
All right, and Becky is taking the Vols. Mississippi State getting 25 points against the Georgia Dogs. The way I did this one, is Mississippi State going to score? No. Can Georgia score 25 points? Yes. Take the Dogs, Georgia Dogs.
I didn't have that good of a thought process going into it, but that makes perfect sense. I'm taking Georgia as well because I agree. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to do anything against Georgia's defense. And Georgia may still have a little bit to figure out with quarterback, but this is a good week to do it. I think he scores at least 25 points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Dogs, DAWGS, the only way to spell dogs, because why not?
And Becky is taking Mississippi State, which I'm not really sure why there, but
he is staying loyal to Mike Leach, and I appreciate that. But
Mizzou is giving away 6.5 points to South Carolina, the former Fighting Will Muschamps. I'm taking the Missouri Tigers in this game in the Columbia of South Carolina.
Yeah, I agree. I think South Carolina has a decent team, but with everything going on there, I think Missouri will cover that spread this week.
So when LSU and Clemson played, it was will the real Death Valley please stand up? This one is will the real Columbia please stand up? And Mizzou's going to say, sit down, South Carolina. And they are the Fighting Bobos now, and they're not going to put up much of a fight. They have too many people opting out now. The train is crashed, and Mizzou is going to benefit. Give me the Tigers. Go Tigers.
And Becky is taking Missouri, and I'd appreciate it, Corey, if you would not do that again.
Cool.
So that is the
you have a bad flashback?
yeah, seriously.
If it makes you feel any better, I took my shirt off when I said that.
Yeah. Did you rip it off though? Did you rip it off?
I might have to get a new hoodie.
Yeah, if the only thing that can be on there is just the collar because it's made out of different material to do the Ed Orgeron correctly.
There you go. Oh, and I have to crush a Red Bull can on my head, right?
Yeah. And you have to say things that is unintelligible.
Go Tigers.
Yes, exactly. That is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Tune in while you're driving in on the way to your whatever game you're going to. We'll be back next Thursday with more around the SEC.
If things don't work out for Edo at LSU, he could always go to Louisiana and be the mascot for the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, no doubt there.